New gas mask models don't appear very often, which is why I'm excited to bring you a review of a quite recent one, C21, made by the Italian company DPI C50. C21 is currently available in the US for a rather steep price of $470, and I'm genuinely glad we didn't have to buy it ourselves, all thanks to our awesome supporter who sent it to us for an honest review. In this video we are going to break down the C21 design, features and accessories and test how it fares in terms of gun handling, low-cut ballistic helmet compatibility and during strenuous physical activity. We received a complete C21 kit, so let's start with unboxing to find out what the kit actually consists of. The cardboard box looks quite beaten, but it had to travel around the world to reach us. I'm so excited, guys. Wait, why is there a horse mask instead of C21? I told you not to mix them up. What am I paying you for?
You're not paying me.
Well, that's true. The reason why I'm horsing around here is because the mask's front profile heavily resembles a horse mouth, so it was easy to mix them up. Sorry about that. Jokes aside, this design choice makes perfect sense, because in order to accommodate integrated voice projection unit and inbuilt secondary filter, some additional space was naturally required. Wait, what? It doesn't have any of that? So why the long face? We actually measured the distance from my ear to the farthest point of the mask, which is 20 cm or 7.87 inches. For comparison, when we measured the distance while wearing GSRES, the result was 19 cm or 7.48 inches and only 17 cm or 6.69 inches while wearing OM2020. For almost the same price as a new Avon C50, you get the mask with a rather interesting valve system I've never seen before. Both the filter port and exhalation valve assemblies are removable, and if you're wondering why, it's so you can swap the filter port to whichever side you prefer. Cool, I guess, although I have one question. Who exactly asked for this? Why design an entire gas mask around a feature you'll use maybe once? Don't get me wrong, I love modular gas mask systems, which is why GSRES is my guilty pleasure. For example, you can easily swap the exhalation assembly for a different one, and it's quick and intuitive. This exhalation assembly also lets the mask switch between negative and positive pressure modes, not to mention the front of GSRES also houses a secondary particle filtration unit with an active sweat removal system. Plus, the GSRES layout is pretty standard. The placement of its components doesn't revolve around its modularity, unlike this one. Of course, to swap the assemblies, you first need to remove the oral nasal cup, remove the modules from the facepiece, switch them, swap the air guiding valves, and then reposition the drinking hose as well. All that hassle just to change the filter port side? Are you serious? There's a reason most other gas masks simply have two filter ports. Just get the mask with the filter port on the side you need and don't bother with this switcheroo nonsense. I'm definitely not going to disassemble my C21 as there is no need for it and it feels needlessly complicated. And just like I don't recommend swapping visors on masks like OM2020 or CM6M without proper follow-up sealing test on a specialized device, I'm not touching this thing more than I have to. A new C21 comes with a protective film which needs to be removed from the visor before use. The visor is made of polycarbonate, and although it looks similar to the Avon C50 one, it is not flexible at all. The visor of Avon C50 is made of polyurethane, which is highly flexible and therefore far more resistant to all kinds of damage. OM2020 uses a visor made of polycarbonate as well, and even though the plastic securing rim around it doesn't look as sexy, it prevents the visor from breaking if you try to bend it. The facepiece of C21 is made of bromobutyl rubber, and I can't appreciate how it's shaped. The absence of various edges and corners, in my opinion, makes the mask easy to decontaminate, but this big empty space inside the exhalation assembly looks like an ideal storage place for all kinds of vapors and liquids, as it is quite exposed, so be mindful of that when you decontaminate the mask. The same goes for the voice diaphragm cover, and although we made fun of the OM2020's cheese grater, that one actually provides a very effective barrier against potential contaminants. What's mind-boggling to me is the fact that C21 comes without a storage unit or a face form to prevent the facepiece from deforming during long-term storage. For a gas mask this expensive, that should really be standard. GSRES has one, Avon C50 and FM53 have them, and even Soviet GP7 includes one. Why does it matter? Because if you're like me, you want to keep your masks in the best shape possible. quite literally. Now, because of the C21's design, the exhalation assembly occupies one side of the facepiece, exactly where the second filter port should have been. It's unusual, and the only mask I can think of with the same quirk is the French Arfa. And I hate Arfa for multiple reasons. The strange, impractical donning method, the fact that it falls apart with age, but this isn't the video about Arfa. Maybe next time. The point is, no other relevant mask we've tested has the exhalation valve placed like this. It is quite unique. The head harness of C21 is nothing short of a joke. Although it has 6 straps, which is the modern standard for an optimal weight distribution and balancing of the mask, the way it is made is absolutely terrible. First, we're talking about the gas mask made in 2025, and already the fabric of the straps starts tearing in multiple places. This didn't happen after one use, of course. I've been playing around with the mask for months, still, this shouldn't happen. For comparison, I've been using my C50 for years and its harness is still in great shape. Not to mention the straps of C21 are already jagged around the edges, and from my experience, I think it's just a matter of time until they stretch to a point of losing their elasticity altogether. Now let's take a look at how the straps are attached to the mask with Velcro fasteners. Who the hell thought this would be a good idea? Again, name me one other mask in a similar price range with such poor head harness design, or any other gas mask in general. Only the bottom straps actually have buckles, but that's nothing to celebrate, especially for such an expensive piece of protective equipment. This screams cheap all the way to Italy. C21 also features something that resembles a skull cap modern Avon masks have. The head harness is most likely designed to be quick donned, as there's a pulling tab. We'll try to don the mask soon enough after the initial fitting. C21 is made in 3 sizes. Size 1 is small, size 2 is medium, and size 3 is large. You can find the size designation embossed on the right side of the facepiece, and the one I got is large. The sizing is supposed to be performed by measuring the distance between the chin and the brow. Not the most detailed instruction, to be honest, because depending on where you place the tape measure and thickness of your brows, you can end up with all kinds of results. 14, 14.5 or 15 centimeters. Also, don't raise your eyebrows while performing the measurement. Here's the actual sizing table, both in inches and centimeters. To prepare the mask for the first use, loosen all the 6 straps. Pull the harness over your head, adjust the facepiece so it sits comfortably on your face, tighten the bottom straps, then the middle ones, and finally the top ones. Another reason this whole Velcro fastening system sucks is that you can easily attach the Velcro panels at the wrong angle, so just do the fitting in front of a mirror. I'm quite sure size 2 would fit me best, but size 3 is what we've got, and it fits just fine. Phew.
Well, the drinking straw is pretty annoying. It pokes me in the face. There has to be some way to position it. Surely there is something. Okay, let me take a look.
Indeed, you can't position the straw with the mask on, because this expensive, cutting-edge gas mask doesn't have such function. It's either going to be poking you in the face the whole time, or you can rotate it when you're not wearing the mask and fight to reach it once you put it back on. Just great. $470? Am I too stupid to understand some elaborate, high-end system here, or is this one of the sloppiest implementation of a drinking straw I've seen so far? Not to mention the straw can be very easily detached, even accidentally. Why bother making the straw compact and positionable by a lever when we can just make it huge and obnoxious? Avon C50, OM 2020 and many other masks have positionable drinking straws, even this GP7 variant does. Yeah, you heard me right, GP freaking 7, not the base version though. The rest of the masks inside is also as simple as it gets. It doesn't even have an opening in the chin area to remove sweat from the part where it accumulates the most, like Avon C50 has. There's an oral nasal cup which is described in the DPI catalog as special inner mask. Well, congratulations! This special feature is something most masks had in the 1980s and is nowadays considered standard. Welcome to 21st century, guys. Interestingly, the mask features a 2-pin connector for an internal microphone, which can be connected to comms through this outside port at the bottom of the facepiece. I don't have the mic, and I don't really care about it, since we're not talking about the voice projection unit, but some people might find it useful. I'm a simple man, and I would rather appreciate a more practical drinking straw, but perhaps I'm too demanding. I'll just screw in a 40mm NATO filter to test how the downing works, but first let's see what the user manual has to say about proper downing. Well, except for this generic text with zero informational value, the C21 user manual says nothing about how the mask is meant to be donned. Did you know that some yogurt lids contain instructions on how to open them? I just assume it's meant to be quick donned, as the head harness has a pulling tab. I have performed countless C21 downings over the past few months, and most of the time it went okay, but in some cases the Velcro fasteners caught on each other, causing the straps to get stuck or twist, and you have to wiggle them from side to side to position them correctly. I definitely prefer the head harness of Avon C50. Another thing I don't like is the angle at which the middle straps attach to the cap. As a result, they put pressure on my temples, not a huge issue, but definitely less comfortable than the C50 skull cap. On a positive note, once donned, the facepiece feels reasonably comfortable. According to DPI, the visor provides 91.70% field of view, and I can honestly say is distortion free. When it comes to accessories, the mask came with two outserts as part of the kit, a clear and a sun one. This is the sun outsert, I kid you not. I've got quite a few different sun outserts and all of them are reasonably dark, which is a blessing in real-world use, especially in summer. Since it was cloudy during the majority of the review filming, we couldn't properly test it, but fortunately, we did it before in this short.
Don't you want the sun outside? It seems the sun is pretty bright.
Yes, it is. And surprise, surprise, this is the sun outside.
Look to the sun.
For comparison, this is the Avon Sun outsert. Quite a difference, isn't it? Perhaps you noticed that DPI's outserts look similar to Avon ones. C21 has similar outsert mounting points as C50, although the outserts themselves are differently shaped and are not cross-compatible. Yes, it's a good system, so why reinvent the wheel? As you can see, DPI also makes other outsert types just as Avon does. I would have to buy the rest of the outserts in order to compare them, but I don't feel like investing in additional C21 or Avon accessories. Moving on. C21 features a dedicated voice diaphragm, and considering the shape and length of the facepiece front, I expect a stellar voice quality.
In terms of voice audibility, C21 performs pretty poorly.
But wait, who am I to evaluate gas masks without a plate carrier? Now that my credibility has been firmly established, let's see whether C21 is compatible with my low-cut ballistic helmet and if cheek welding a rifle is possible. C21 pairs really well with my helmet, mainly because I don't need a chin strap extender, something that's almost always required with Avon C50. And as for cheek welding, it works just fine. In fact, it's probably time to say this out loud. Almost every gas mask allows for effective cheek welding. An old GP5M? No problem. A $20 Chinese knockoff? Works surprisingly well. The whole gas mask weapon compatibility narrative is largely a marketing gimmick. Sure, there are exceptions, and who would have guessed it's going to be OM 2020. When I tried to cheek weld my old SA58 while wearing OM 2020, the side of the visor smacks right into the stock, making proper aiming basically impossible. Tactical, right? The drinking system of C21 is also quite interesting. The hose is wrapped around the filter port, which is similar to how GSRES gas mask is designed. The drinking adapter holder is placed at the bottom of the mask, and just look how one side of the facepiece is deformed just so the hose can fit in. Just wonderful. The hose comes off easily from the clip that is supposed to hold it in place. It happened to me multiple times during a basic mask handling. This is not an issue with the filter mounted, but in case you need to swap the filter for a new one in the field, double check whether the hose is secured, because it may obstruct the filter from getting screwed in all the way through. At the other side of the drinking adapter holder, there is a small, almost unnoticeable rubber plug. When you remove it, the opposite side opens up, so you can secure the drinking adapter from that side in case you decide to switch the filter port. As far as I know, currently there is no canteen or bottle available which would work with C21 drinking system, so you can only use it with hydration bladders, like the one I have from the Israeli company Source. These are great, durable and very practical bladders I can recommend to anyone. When I remove the mouthpiece, I can easily connect the drinking adapter to the bladder and it works like a charm. I'll keep the bladder connected during the physical exercise so I can take a sip whenever I feel like it. First, the mask remains very comfortable while moving and jogging. Although the head harness is embarrassingly cheap, it gets the job done and keeps the facepiece well balanced and firmly set on my face. The visor is distortion free, there is no fogging issue, so yeah, it feels great. However, I don't know if I'm just getting rusty, but during the C21 jogging test I could only run for 10.5 minutes before becoming severely short of breath. For the first time ever, I had to stop and take a break. After catching my breath, I tried jogging again, and guess what? 8 minutes in, the shortness of breath hit me again and forced me to stop. What's going on? Interestingly, 2 days later we filmed another gas mask review, the Scott M95, and I was able to run the full 30 minutes without any issues. Was it simply because I wasn't wearing a plate carrier at the time? To check, I tried running in the C21 again, this time without the plate carrier, but nope, 11 minutes in and I was done. What the hell is going on? I decided to give the mask one last try, focusing on taking very deep breaths and exhaling more sharply than usual. In the end, I managed to run for 20 minutes, which is still 10 minutes shorter than our standard test, and I just couldn't push past that point.
Ah, never again, guys, never freaking again. Whoa, my god. All right. C21, tactical, military, cutting edge, next gen, and whatever. No, not my favorite, not at all.
Time to wrap things up, and I'll keep it brief this time. I think that for the asking price, C21 is not that great. The mask features certain overly complicated design aspects, while others are as basic as it gets. In my view, C21 doesn't have any standout qualities that would let it compete with other CBRN respirators in the same price range, and I spent some time thinking about it. It does nothing better than masks that are cheaper, and when it comes to even a surface level comparison with Avon C50, C21 gets nowhere near to what makes C50 a legend. The whole filter port swap gimmick didn't impress me at all, the sun outsert is a joke, and I find the head harness quality abysmal. Also, I'm very curious on how sweat removal is supposed to be working, considering the exhalation valve placement and how it is structured from the inside of the mask. Perhaps some of you already noticed all kinds of ugly edges on various parts of the mask, which doesn't look appealing at all. If I had paid nearly $500 for it myself, I'd be furious. I believe DPI has the technology to make a solid modern gas mask, but in my opinion, the C21 just isn't it. It feels like the Italians were trying to create something new, but I don't think it turned out well. Honestly, I wish I could sell this thing just to get rid of it, but since I keep all the masks that were gifted to us, the C21 is going back into its box and straight into my basement storage. That's it, folks. I hope you liked this video. Let me know in the comment section what are your thoughts on C21. I told you to get rid of it. Again, what am I paying you for?
You're not paying me.
I know it's just a figure of speech, but you know, you could...